The moment Angelina Jolie's name appeared on the View guest lineup, before Meghan Markle was even announced, speculation across social media went wild. For years, both women had been at the center of public fascination for vastly different reasons. Angelina for her film legacy, activism, and global refugee advocacy. Meghan for her fairy tale beginnings and media storm that followed. When it was confirmed the two would appear together, the internet collectively held its breath. What would they say? Would there be tension? Would Angelina take Meghan to task? The world was about to find out. And what transpired wasn't just a conversation, it was a spectacle. The air in the studio crackled with anticipated confrontation, and viewers braced themselves, quickly realizing this wasn't a joint appearance, it was a collision. Angelina walked onto the set with reserved confidence, dressed in a soft white blouse and tailored trousers, projecting calm and authority. Meghan followed in a pastel blazer, composed but visibly alert, her smile poised. They took their seats opposite hosts, the audience buzzing. Whoopi Goldberg welcomed both warmly, attempting to set a cordial tone, but it didn't last. Joy Behar, leaning forward with a glint in her eyes, addressed Angelina first. "You've long been admired for your advocacy," she said, "especially on women's issues. But many wonder, what do you make of Meghan's activism now?" The question hung in the air, heavy as lead. Angelina nodded slowly. Meghan's posture stiffened. It was the opening salvo in an unspoken rivalry now unleashed. And when Angelina spoke, everyone leaned in to hear how the clash would begin. Angelina's voice, soft yet precise, cut through the tension. "Activism is more than platforms and sound clips," she began, turning toward Meghan. Meghan offered a reserved nod. "It's about substance, sustainability, and lived experience. I gather Meghan has her own views and certainly a platform, but activism is earned, not given." The studio exhaled collectively, unsure if Angelina had leveled a critique or extended a mentorship. Meghan's calm exterior wavered momentarily. Joy interjected. "So are we saying one activism is more authentic than another?" Angelina held Meghan's gaze. "Yes, at least in some cases. Some people speak loudly but act quietly. Others act loudly but don't speak at all." Meghan opened her mouth to respond, but Angelina's tone shifted. The power had shifted. The audience sat forward, watching what would come next. Meghan spoke carefully. "I believe in harnessing attention to amplify the unheard." Angelina nodded, but her next words carried sharpness, disguised as diplomacy. "Amplification is valuable, but attention evaporates without follow-through. If all that exists is visibility without impact, you risk becoming a symbol without substance." Meghan's back straightened. The hosts exchanged uneasy glances. Joy leaned in again. "Do you think Meghan has impact, Angelina? Or is it all optics?" Angelina paused, intensely considering. "There is impact, but consistency matters. Longevity matters. Someone can be loud for a season but offer little when the spotlight dims." That was it. The line had been drawn. And Meghan, though silent, seemed suddenly smaller in a room full of expectation and scrutiny. Whoopi tried to intervene gently. "Let's shift back to Angelina's new film," she suggested. But Angelina shook her head, her composure now unwavering. "This isn't about film," she said. Meghan shifted again. Joy pressed. "So you're calling her name Angelina?" The host's eyes narrowed. "I'm calling attention to the difference between being seen and being felt. Between celebrity and consistency. I'm not discrediting, just distinguishing." Meghan drew a breath, trying to maintain calm. "I've taken steps toward causes I care about," she responded. Angelina tilted her head slightly. "Not all steps are equal, and some steps are performative, if not rooted in lived reality." Meghan paused, color rising faintly on her cheeks. The audience felt the temperature rising, but still, no blows had been landed. Yet the tension felt like a coiled spring ready to snap. Joy's words sliced through the silence. "Sounds like some people here are measuring Meghan against impossible standards." Angelina turned to Meghan, but the undercurrent of accusation was clear. "Perhaps standards should be high when the world is watching," Meghan's voice held edge now. "Nobody gets a pass. I just wish we recognized varied life paths as legitimate too." Angelina leaned forward. Recognition only reaches so far if it lacks roots. Meghan's expression hardened. Roots grow through action, not optics. The audience shifted in their seats. Whoopi's discomfort grew as the confrontation escalated. The script of the morning was unraveled live, moment by moment, detail by detail, till what remained was raw contrast of veteran humanitarian versus a modern media figure. Asterisk. Angelina's recalibrated gaze carried clarity. Let's talk consistency. For years I worked with refugees overseas, behind closed doors, quietly. No press, no cameras. Shh. You can't recall that scale of sustained invisible labor. That was the insult hidden in plain view. And Meghan's composure flickered. I've supported organizations privately for years as well, she answered, voice low. Angelina's tone remained steady. Public platform deserves public questions. Lack of public acknowledgement isn't absence of action. Meghan inhaled. The rest of the panel sat frozen. The mood shifted. This wasn't a discussion anymore. It was an unspoken power struggle, where Angelina had set the terms, and Meghan was being measured against them. Asterisk. At that point, Joy softened slightly. So you're saying you hold her accountable by comparison? Angelina sighed. Not comparison, context. Nobody dictates worth by metrics alone. But when fame invites scrutiny, so should intent. Meghan's eyes flashed. So you're saying I haven't been intentional? The tension grew thicker. Joy chimed in again. Intentional or not, people are watching. Some say Meghan left suits to speak more. Others say she withdrew and only returned when the contracts came. Angelina nodded. Intentions remain intentions until they become evidence. Gesture is hollow without follow-through. Meghan's jaw tightened, her breath steady. The room felt electric. Every viewer at home knew the spotlight had turned from film promotion to personal reckoning. Asterisk. Then came the turning point. Meghan, fighting composure, raised her voice very slightly, made a life of speaking for the marginalized, not personal brand. My work isn't headlines. It's platforms that reach communities. Angelina paused, then delivered cold clarity. Platform is nothing without partnership. Partnership is dismantled when optics outshine action. Meghan's silence held tension. The hosts looked uneasy. The cameras zoomed in on both women's faces. This was no longer television, it was confrontation distilled. And when Angelina spoke the next words, the studio seemed to gasp collectively. If you'd done as much off-screen as you do on-screen, we'd be having a different conversation. Asterisk. Meghan stood up slowly, unhooking her mic. The room held its breath. Joy started to speak. Well, I think that's... but was cut off by Meghan's quiet but firm words. I came here genuinely to discuss advocacy. I expected dialogue, not diagnosis. She offered a curt nod to Whoopi, turned, and walked off the set. The camera lingered on Angelina's composed face and the stunned panel. No dramatic exit, no shouting. Meghan simply left. And in that pause, the message was lethal. The audience didn't know whether to cheer or cringe. So social media exploded. Within minutes, clips of Jennifer's aligned calm, Angelina's cold articulation, and Meghan's respectful exit flooded timelines. And the Views panel sat in silence, witnessing the result of one woman's quiet but unmistakable rhetorical knockout delivered live on air. As the door closed behind Meghan, as a silence lingered, waited, and disbelieving, Joy Behar looked toward the audience, then back at Angelina, searching for something to say. Well, that escalated quickly, she muttered, attempting levity, but her voice lacked conviction. Angelina remained composed, her hands folded gently in her lap, not smug, not gloating, just immovable. The gravity of what had just occurred wasn't lost on anyone. Social media backstage began to buzz louder than ever. Producers were frantically whispering, unsure whether to go to commercial or let it ride. Whoopi finally spoke, her voice calm but sharp. Angelina, you've always been known for your poise, but some might say this was more than just honest commentary. Would you call it confrontation? Angelina blinked slowly. No, she replied. I would call it accountability. cannot preach vulnerability while guarding yourself from critique. It was a master class in restraint, the kind that doesn't shout to be heard, but echoes long after it's said. The room, still thick with shock, now brimmed with something else, reverence, perhaps a realization. Because what had played out wasn't a feud, it was a live, unscripted correction. And Angelina hadn't raised her voice once. Asterisk outside the studio, however, a storm had already formed. News outlets scrambled to write their headlines. Angelina. Schools Meghan on activism. Read one. Meghan walks off set in tears. Claimed another, though no tears were confirmed. The internet did what it does best. It divided. Team Meghan loyalists, Team Isis.